الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيل إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So we continue باب الزكاة. وصلنا إلى زكاة الفطر. نعم باب زكاة الفطر. Did we speak about زكاة الفطر already or
No.
that's where we stop now? باب زكاة الفطر. عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال فرض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم زكاة الفطر. The Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم obliged zakat al-fitr. As you know, zakat al-fitr is the zakat after or before Salat al-Eid, before Eid al-Fitr. Zakat al-Fitr has to be paid before Eid al-Fitr. So I mentioned the Prophet obligated zakat al-Fitr صاعا من تمر أو صاعا من شعير, as a sa' in dates or a sa' in barley. وعلى العبد والحر والذكر والأنثى والصغير والكبير من المسلمين. And it's obliged upon the slave, the free person, the male, the female, the young and the old from the Muslims. Now upon everyone is zakat al-fitr. وأمر بها أن تؤدى قبل خروج الناس إلى الصلاة متفق عليه هذا الحديث. And he obliged that it should be given before people leave for the prayer. So that is the time that it should be given. Now, that is the time it's supposed to be given before the people go out for the Salat al-Eid. And it mentions تجب لنفسه ولمن تلزمه المؤننة. It's obligatory upon the person himself and those whom he cares for. إذا كان ذلك فاضلا عن قوت يومه وليلته. And that's if one has more than a day and night's worth of sustenance. So if they themselves have more than a day and night's worth of sustenance, then they are to give in zakat al-fitr. صاع من تمر أو شعير أو أقط أو زبيب أو بر. And what's mentioned is to give a sa' of dates or barley or cottage cheese or sultanas, any raisins, or wheat. والأفضل فيها الأنفع. What is mentioned, what is best to give is that which is more beneficial to the poor. That which is most beneficial to the poor is what is best to be given. And these are more like stored foods that can be stored. That's why you find rice is given as well, obliged it, as a means of purifying the one who is fasting from foul speech and obscenity, and also as a means of feeding the poor. So again, this cleanses the actions of the one who is fasting, as a means of expiation of their shortcomings, and also as a means of aiding the poor and needy, aiding the poor and the needy. فَمَنْ أَدَّاهَا قَبْلَ الصَّلَاةِ فَهِيَ زَكَاةٌ مَقْبُولَةٌ. Whoever fulfills it before the salah, Salat al-Eid, and is zakat that is accepted. وَمَنْ أَدَّاهَا بَعْدَ الصَّلَاةِ فَهِيَ صَدَقَةٌ مِنَ الصَّدَقَاتِ. Whoever does it after the salah, then is considered to be from the sadaqat. And هذا من الحديث. Now, so that shows that when a person misses it, you can't make it up. If you miss paying zakat, al-fitr, you can't make it up at a later date. But you're still obliged to pay, but now it's considered to be sadaqah. You missed the opportunity of paying it as zakat al-fitr. So you also are sinful for that, and one is to make tawbah. Also, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سبعة يذلهم الله في ظله يوم لا ظل إلا ظله. The 7 whom Allah will grant a shade to. On the day there's no shade, but the shade granted to them by Allah. إمام عادل, a just ruler. وشاب نشأ في طاعة الله, a young person who was raised or grew up in obedience to Allah. وَرَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ, a man whose heart is attached to the houses of Allah. Of the things that is mentioned, الرجل قلبه معلق بالمساجد, this is the one who ينتظر الصلاة إلى الصلاة, يبقى في المسجد ينتظر الصلاة بعد الصلاة. The one whose heart is attached to the masjid, they say the one who stays in the masjid waiting for the next salah. But when they stay in the masjid, they're engaged with that which will benefit them. Now, so it's a person who stayed in the masjid for that reason. Let's say it's hot outside. A person comes to the masjid to cool off, to be in the shade. That person doesn't get the reward of having their heart attached to the masjid, because their intention was what? Istidlal, is to seek shade. But as for the one who يعني يدخل المسجد للظهر مثلا ويبقى حتى العصر ويريد البقاء في المسجد ويذكر الله ويتلو كتاب الله أو يستغفر, ولكن هو في قلبه ونيته منتظر الصلاة التي بعد. The one who comes to the masjid for Salat al-Dhuhr, for example, and they stay until the Asr, but that time they're remembering Allah, seeking forgiveness, reciting the Quran. The intention is to stay in the masjid waiting for the next salah. That's the person whose heart is attached to the masjid. The 4th type of people is رجلان تحابا في الله اجتمعا عليه وتفرقا عليه. 2 men or 2 individuals who loved each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They came together upon this, they united upon this, and they went their separate ways upon this. Now, what is intended by they went their separate ways is death came between them. So they loved each other for the sake of Allah, and that's what they united upon. And that's what we're supposed to unite upon, love for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. So, فَمَا كَانَ مَحْبُوبٌ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ فَنَجْمَعَ عَلَى هَذَا. Whatever is beloved to Allah, that's what we unite upon. And the only thing that came between them was death. The only thing that came between them was death. And that is from the khisal الَّذِينَ يَجِدْ بِهِنَّ حَلَاوَةَ الْإِيمَانِ. That is from those characteristics that the person who has it will taste the sweetness of Iman. And that is that they love, and they love for the sake of Allah. When they love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why you find when there's so much problems in communities, because love is not built upon love for the sake of Allah. That's why we have so much friction. Because our allegiances to people, our love for people is not upon the sake of Allah. That's why you find people, they campaign and they team up together against people, not for the sake of Allah, but for the sake, I love that person for my own benefit, because they're my friend. I find them to be a good companion. They treat me, I treat them, and whatever it is, nothing that they mention of their friendship is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. you'll find if they say this person reminds me of Allah, قَدْ يَكُنْ كَاذِبًا, they may be lying. But they feel obliged to say that. But in reality, you ask them, okay, what do they do that reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Especially when they come to you with problems, they backbite and slander, encourage you to do so. They hate others and they're jealous of others, and they also encourage you to do so. أين المحبة في الله? Where's the love for Allah in that? Wallahu musta'an. How much time do you find this today? Because you ask someone in reality, why don't you like so and so? You'll hear people say, even for example, this person was married to my friend and divorced them. That's why I hate them. Is that for the sake of Allah? Just for that? Say because they oppress someone. Have a reason that Allah hates. That you can say, I hate them for the sake of Allah. But it wasn't because they got divorced, it's because it was my friend. You see? Or that person had an argument with my friend. So again, what happens? I don't like them because they argue about Islam. They argued with my friend. What is this? And that's the reason why we don't know how to love for the sake of Allah and hate for the sake of Allah, is because we don't actually know what Allah loves and what Allah hates. And even in the community that we have, sometimes we hold on to principles that we had in the days of Jahiliyyah, i.e. the days before Islam came to us. Before we were upholding Islam, we uphold those principles over the principles of Islam. And that becomes a problem also. For example, I might not like someone for the sake of Allah, but that's because it's something that is between me and between them though. It's not a public thing, it's between me and them. So I can't say, okay, I'm always with Hamza. Hamza, don't like that person too. Or Hamza says to me, do you know what? You don't like him, you're my teacher and my friend, I'm not going to like them too. I say, هذا خطأ, this is wrong. هذا ليس بصحيح, this is not correct. If I have a problem with that individual, that's my problem. I wouldn't expect my own wife to have a problem with someone I have a problem with, because that's not between them. But what do we find today? If I have a problem with someone, I expect you to also not like them. You have to be on my side. This is not correct. Unless the issue that we don't like that person for, they are deserving of being outcasted, exiled from the community. Because the evil that we don't like them for affects other people. In the bookshop. واضح? Same thing happens between Mashaykh. Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah spoke about this. Subhanallah. You have some issues between Mashaykh. I remember one person, they messaged me talking about this Shaykh refutes this Shaykh, and I translated for this Shaykh X, Y, and Z. So I said, طيب, is the Shaykh Salafi? As for problems between Shaykh to Shaykh, I don't care. It's got nothing to do with me. None of the Shaykh said, Ibrahim, what's your thoughts? I'm not of a level to even be asked that question in the first place. They would never consult me. Man ana. So you bringing this to me, I'm going to ask you simple. طيب, me, I'm benefiting from them. Salafiyah, the Sunnah. Do they oppose the Sunnah? I don't want to hear nothing else. I don't care about the politics of that country or that country. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm in UK. We've got enough problems as it is. Let alone politically, locally. Problems everywhere. And then they go on. I just have the same question. Is this person Salafi? Are they a person of the Sunnah? That's all I need to know. Because if you say no, why? Why? You need to tell me a reason. And if you say yes, then barakallahu feek. That's all I care about. Is this person going to teach me that which is what? Correct. As for the differences between the scholars, the advice of the scholars of old, those mashaykhs, teachers that are indifferent, they would tell the students, don't get involved fi khilaf bayn al-mashayikh. Don't get involved between the disputes between the scholars. فَهَذَا لِلْمَشَايِخ لَيْسَ لِلطُّلَّابِ الْعِلْمِ. This is for the scholars, not for the students of knowledge. So someone comes in, what do you say about this shaykh and that shaykh? لا أقول شيئا. I don't say anything, nothing to do with me. خلاف بينهم. نسأل الله السلام والعافية. We ask Allah for peace and well-being and safety. That's it. We want good for everyone. Even the one who wants mistakes, the goodness that we want for them is that they come back from their mistake. And that's what we love for the sake of Allah. Because some people, they don't want you to come back from the mistake. There are some people, they're waiting at home like this. Ibrahim, make mistake, please. In Aqidah especially. We're waiting. So you have to do your adhkar. Because there are people that won't like you. And the ayn al-haq, the ayn is true. It will affect you. But you also can't fall into the other extreme. Everything is ayn. Like everything is qadr. That's the correct thing to understand. Everything is qadr. Now, because even if ayn afflicts you, where do you go for shifa? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't worry about the people. But us, we have to learn our allegiances, our love, our friendships, our companionships. They are for the sake of who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if this is your best friend, this person is your friend, but they do something that Allah hates, you have to hate them for the sake of Allah. And this is conditional, because if they have what Allah loves within them, you still have love for them for the sake of Allah. Now,
you said hate them, don't you mean hate it?
Them and the action that they do. Because love consists of four things: the actions, the people, the places, the times. You see? And hatred is the same. You see? So we love them and we hate them. If they're believers, we love what they have of iman and we hate what they have of disbelief or disobedience. Now, so for example, someone's known for backbiting and slandering. What do we love? We love that they're Muslim, but we hate the fact that they are backbiting and slandering all the time. So they are hated for the level of what? That which Allah hates in them. In the backbiting and the slandering. You see? And you'll learn if you're true to this. Because when you find people that do this, when they do actions that Allah hates, what happens? You don't hesitate. You don't say, oh, but that's my friend. La. Allah comes first. Now, sometimes you may be someone that you've grown up with for years. You have to come to a place where I say, you know what? This person, in reality, they're a person of evil. لا يأتي منه من أقواله ولا أفعاله إلا شر. Nothing comes from their actions and their statements except for what? Evil. هل أتخذ هذا صاحبا? Do I take this person as what? A friend? No, I can't. But whose sake am I making that decision for? For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this is why we have to be careful. Because some people, they take things personal. And then they make other people also take sides with them personally, not for the sake of Allah. And this is dangerous. Because then you won't be from those who are mentioned that be granted the shade of Allah. They loved for the sake of Allah. They hated for the sake of Allah. And that's what they united upon. Because from the conditions or the characteristics, more say, better words, of those who love for the sake of Allah, if I see you doing something wrong, what am I going to do? I'm going to advise you. Why do I advise you? For the sake of Allah. And if I truly love you for the sake of Allah, because that love is to be for the sake of Allah, I don't want you to be punished. I don't want you to be doing wrong. So if I truly love the Muslims for the sake of Allah, that's why we teach as well. We want the Muslims to be upon knowledge. We want them to be free from mistakes, be free from innovation. We don't celebrate the mistakes. Even when we see the people of innovation at the heads of them, we're not pleased, we're not happy that they're making mistakes. Because it affects the ummah, it doesn't just affect me or that person. It affects those who are learning from them. And if they're upon goodness, then many people would benefit from them. You see, some people, they have a large following, but they make so much mistakes. And had they been upon that which is correct, that large following would benefit. And it would be good for the Muslims. And this has to be reflected in our character. When we do give advice, it's because we want good for them. And I remember this person sent me something, and it had like, when this sheikh spoke to this sheikh, he started saying something about the job that he does or the background that they come from. Somebody say stuff like this. I said, listen, al-afdal, the best thing, if someone speaks with knowledge, then the response is also with knowledge. Mentioning job titles and all these things, there's no benefit, there's no need. So for me, there's nothing to do with me. But if I see something that a sheikh takes a stance based upon knowledge on a contemporary issue, and I want to look at whoever's speaking back about that, responding, making a rebuttal, for example, then I expect it also to be based upon what? Knowledge, and that's it. As for getting personal, la. And that's why we have to learn these principles. Because same way, if I see someone make a mistake, the way I address them, I can't make it a personal issue. The only reason I'm correcting is for the sake of Allah. Because the Prophet Muhammad said, ad-din an-nasiha. But then you also have individuals, they don't give you advice until you have something to say to them. And this is not correct. The only time they start to supposedly advise you is because now you've addressed an issue with them. Now it's, oh, but you. I remember this happened to me in front of people. We had a nizam, system for those who led the salah in a particular masjid. I was of those that was in that system. But then the brother went and told someone else to lead the salah who's not from that system. So after I said, Akhi, you know, there's a system in place. You could have gone to this brother or that brother or myself, because then everyone else was there. You respect the system that's put in place by the masjid. The brother next to him said, oh, but you make mistake in Fatiha. Just like this. I said, okay. If I'm leading you in salah and supposedly I'm making mistake in Fatiha, I wasn't making mistake in Fatiha. I said, let's go to the sheikh and ask him now. Because he's the one who's put me in part of this system. And I'm sure if I was making this mistake in Fatiha, I would never be there. But again, what do we learn from this? Had I been making a mistake in Fatiha, you never was going to tell me? Until I had a matter to discuss with you, you would never say it to me? So only because I bring something to your attention, now it's tick for tack. What is this? This is childish behavior. This is not behavior of men of the Sunnah. Wallahi, I found so much benefit in being humble, in taking advice. There's one sheikh in the masjid, alhamdulillah, he always advises me if I do something wrong. even if it's my pronunciation. And I've noticed of recent, sometimes my tongue is a bit heavy. So in the khutbah, when I say, وَمَنْ يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ, he said this, I say proper, no problem. وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ, at the time I was saying it with dal, not dad. Say yudlil. I wasn't saying the dad properly with sukun. So he said to me, he brought this to my attention. And I was like, I was happy. Why? Because the way he brought it to my attention, it wasn't in front of people. It wasn't to shame me. After the khutbah, we have a moment, give salam. You might say, Jazakallah khair today. Maybe you missed this word like this. And then, before the next khutbah, I saw him in a dream. Before the next khutbah, I saw him in my dream, and it was the same issue that we was talking about. But in the dream, I said it wrong again. But when I saw him after the khutbah, our English is not his first language. He said, today you released me. I was worrying, I was stressed, anxiety. Because sometimes Arabs, it's a natural thing. Even when you learn Quran, when you hear someone make a mistake, it bothers you. It's like an itch. It's like, ugh. So he has those moments. He's like, he knows, and he can't be quiet. He has to advise me because he knows. So he said to me, he didn't know that I saw him in the dream yet. He said to me, today you said it very good. I said, Sheikh, but I saw you this morning and I didn't say it properly in the dream. I said, I saw you in the dream today, and it was Yawm al-Jum'ah. Imagine on the Friday before the khutbah, when I was sleeping, I saw him in a dream that same Jum'ah before the khutbah. I was like, I have to say it properly because he's advised me twice, in real life and in my dream. Subhanallah. But I said to him, Shaykh, I said, Ajib, in the dream I didn't say it right. So he's laughing. But he says, Alhamdulillah, this is from Allah. You see? But I have not found, except that when you take advice, you'll benefit. Even if you don't agree with the advice. Let it be said. Be humble. If you're going to correct the advice because you have a proper stance, then also you do it in the best way. Doesn't become personal. Because maybe the standpoint of that individual is only based on what they've learned. They don't know another standpoint. They don't know another possible evidence or interpretation of something. You don't know. You see? So, because when it's for the sake of Allah, it's not personal. And that's why something that's not easy, but we have to remind ourselves enough so we make it easy, is when it comes to advice or people in places of da'wah, rahmakallah. You have to exercise this even more than what is natural and normal. And until it becomes something that is what? Normal and natural to you. Does it mean it's going to be easy? Does it mean you're always going to get it right? La. You see? But some people, they don't understand this. And that's what causes hatred even. Because instead of advice, it becomes shaming. And that is a problem. Shaming the people. The fifth person who's granted shade from Allah, رجل دعته امرأة ذات منصب وجمال فقال إني أخاف الله. A person who is invited by a woman for that which is haram, and she's not an average woman, she's someone who has power, someone who has position, someone who possesses beauty. So ideally it's not someone you would what? Turn away. It's someone that you would be inclined towards. Who's the example that we have from this? Who? Yusuf alayhi salam. What did he say? Ma'adallah. You seek refuge. At that moment in time, you remember, I fear Allah. My fear for Allah is greater than my love for that which I desire in that moment in time. And that is what allows you to stay away from the sin. Because your fear of Allah is greater than your desire to disobey Allah. And the way to increase this is by learning more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because some people who fall into sin, the first thing they always tell themselves is Allah is merciful. But they forget to remind themselves that Allah is also Shadidul Iqab, severe in punishment. The sixth person, وَرَجُلٌ تَصَدَّقَ بِصَدَقَةٍ فَأَخْفَاهَا حَتَّى لَا تَعْلَمُ شِمَالُهُ مَا تُنْفِقُ يَمِينُهُ. The person who gives sadaqah and they hide their sadaqah, so their left does not know what their right hand spent. So they don't take out their money and start counting. They give. Khalas, and they hide it. It's not known. The person on the left or the right, they don't know what this person has given. Unlike today, what do sinful people do? They make edited videos of them giving sadaqah. Captions and everything. Camera angles on fleek. MashaAllah. You might be able to smell the perfume through the video. The way they present it. But why? To show people that they're giving sadaqah. La, don't do these things. Hide it. Hide it. Remember, the only one who needs to know of your actions is who? Allah. And Allah knows. And Allah knows. Allah also knows your intention. Well, the things that we cannot deceive ourselves and say, I know I am sincere. I'm 100% sure I was mukhlis. La. We hope. We ask Allah to accept it from us because we don't know. We ask ourselves, why did I video myself doing that? Some may say, people only see my sins. I have to show that I also do good. La, you need to stop doing the sins that people know you for. That's what you need to do. Hide the sadaqah. Because only Allah needs to know this. But also you need to publicly stop doing the sin. Because that's what you're known for. But keep your things of sadaqah between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep it between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. The last of those people, وَرَجُلٌ ذَكَرَ اللَّهَ خَالِيًا فَفَاضَتْ عَيْنَاهُ. The last person, the one who remembers Allah when they're by themselves, until their eyes begin to weep, begin to cry. Because they remember Allah, they cry from fear and love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The love that Allah has bestowed so much bounties upon us, but we're not grateful for them. The fear that because of my sins and my shortcomings, not being grateful to Allah as He's deserving, that I may be punished. That I may be punished. One of the hardest things that you can think about and imagine is the time of death. How's it going to be for you? When you try to think about death, what's it going to happen? The time that I'm going to be in front of the people, they're going to be behind me praying my salah. There are going to be those who wash me. There will be those who shroud me. They'll be placed in the grave. Then the people will put the dirt over me. Some will make dua. Some will be busy laughing and talking and remembering people they haven't seen for a long time. All of these concepts that come to mind at the time of being buried, just the idea of death itself, you cannot imagine it, so you start to worry. But then what happens if you get stuck in that worry, think that you've sinned too much, you can't be forgiven? Then you'll be stuck in depression, anxiety, in fear, in worry. But if you remember, Allah forgives all sins. If a person repents, so then repent to Allah. From our nature is that we're going to sin. Allah knows this. This is how Allah has created us. But from this, Allah loves those who, when they sin, they return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also, from Allah's mercy, Allah has legislated that when we do righteous actions, those righteous actions serve as expiations for us. of the ways the sins are expiated is one by what? Sadaqah. Sadaqah. Charity. And charity starts at a home. Ala man ta'ul, upon your family first. Sadaqah, not zakat. Zakat cannot be given to father, mother and grandfather and up, no down. It can be given to the rest though. Zakat. But sadaqah, one should spend on their family. Prior, if your family is in need, then they come first before anyone else. Because that is the right they have upon you. Because it combines between two things. Assalamu rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Barakallahu feek, my brother. It combines between two things. What are those two things? One, the reward of charity. What's the next thing? Keeping the ties. Silat al-Rahim. When you give charity to your family and they're in need, you give them money, 100% they're going to be happy. 100%. Even if they had money and you gave charity for them, the ta'lif al-qulub, to bring their hearts closer, they're going to be what? Happy. And from this you maintain family ties. But imagine your family's in need and they see you giving sadaqah to everyone but them. يؤدي إلى قطيعة الرحم والبغض. It's going to lead towards severing family ties and also enmity and hatred between you. Now, and the next thing that will expiate sins easily, ad-dhikr, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Easy. Subhanallah, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, La ilaha illallah, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Words that are so easy to be said, but the reward is what? Great. The reward with Allah is great. So we'll stop there, inshallah ta'ala. Next lesson we'll talk about who zakat is to be given to. Who zakat is to be given to. Kitab al-Siyam, we've done it already. So then we'll go on to Kitab al-Hajj. We finished Kitab al-Siyam. Yeah, we've done the whole Kitab. Definitely finished Kitab al-Siyam. And I used other books as well. Now, is it good to give gifts to non-Muslims for da'wah? 100%. And tell them when you do it, this is Islam. Now, it's very good. Everyone loves gifts. Now, everyone loves gifts. Who doesn't love gifts? I really love gifts. Remember that, yeah? I'm joking. But yeah, alhamdulillah, give them gifts, inshallah, is good. And if they ask, why are you so kind? This is Islam. Wallahi, this is what I can give you. But the biggest gift is from Allah, that Allah gives you Islam. And I pray that Allah gives you that gift. You plant those seeds. You never know. Wallahi, you never know. Sometimes one person around you is not Muslim, is waiting for you to tell them about Islam. And sometimes they're testing you. Why don't you say it? If you're my friend, if you love me, why don't you say something to me about Islam? They're waiting for it. How much times, do you know how much people spoke to about Islam and say, yeah, it's the truth? Or in the shop downstairs, the person's coming to buy perfume and you say, look, you mustn't know. I've been looking into it for years, you know. A person came to buy perfume, they left saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So not only are they externally pleasant, they're now internally pleasant. Walillahi alhamd. Never stop calling to Allah, either by ways of your words or by ways of your actions. And if you don't have the words, then you share the works of those who have the words. We're in a day that is so easy to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many people have become Muslim because they see the Muslims in light of oppression. And a common story is the Muslims are always being oppressed. Why? Because people fear the truth. And what they don't realize, the more oppression we go through, the harder we push the truth. Because it's for whose sake? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it's for the sake of Allah, it's greater than any individual person. Greater than ourselves, greater than our sorrows, our griefs, our happiness. Everything is for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And that becomes the true definition of sacrifice. Sacrifice, al-jihad fi sabilillahi ta'ala. Striving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing that scares me in seeking knowledge is one day I'll have to teach in front of everyone and I don't know if my intention will be clean. Learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you do it for Allah, you are not moved by criticism or praise. So if a person criticizes you, it doesn't make you stop. Some people they say, oh, do you know what, I'm going to give up. I can't take this. Who are you doing it for then? Or some people that are waiting. Did you see my lesson yesterday? Good? Bad? Good? Good? They want your review. This is what you don't want. The intention is one, remove ignorance from myself, and then hopefully, Allah says in Surah Al-Furqan, وَجَعَلْنِي لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا, and make me for the believers an imam, someone yuqtada bihi, someone that people are guided through, someone that people can take as a role model, as an example. There is no harm in asking Allah to make you this, but you're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not financial benefit, not fame and the likes. Teach even if only one person is sitting in front of you. If only one person is there, teach. Al-ibra laysa bil-kathra. The point is not based on abundance and quantity. It's quality always. And quality is what is done mukhlisan wa sawaban. That which is done with ikhlas, and that which is done with following the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa nas'al ja'alna min al-mukhlisin. Allahumma ameen wa taqabbal minna. Ameen. So we'll stop there inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. Have class tomorrow. This weekend, Medina College, a very big dawrah. Those who are also following online, the dawrat in Bradford. Next Friday and Saturday as well, with Sheikh Asim Khayut will be in Brixton doing Usul al-Sitta. Next Friday and Saturday, that's Brixton. This Saturday and Sunday, Medina College. Now, inshallah, so I encourage those, especially Medina College, the conference in Medina College this weekend is very important for Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, especially in contemporary times, clarifying misconceptions about the da'wah of Muhammad ibn Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala.
Is it after us?
This one is 11 till 4. 11 in the morning till 4. Saturday, Sunday. Inshallah. If you can't attend, which I encourage you, then follow online.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
But they said it won't be streamed live.
We'll see.
That's what I read.
We'll see. Wallahu a'lam. Barakallahu feek. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.